Many of us have seen many healthy relationships. In fact, we see them all the time. But where? In movies, or in our neighbors, or in our friends' home. But most of us somewhere are not able to see it in our own lives, or may have very little idea how to get one going for themselves. So, psychologists also agree that relationships are difficult, and the right thing to do may not always be instinctual, but at the same time, maintaining a strong bond between you and your partner is absolutely necessary and rewarding. The good news is that the amount of work and dedication we put into a relationship increases the depth of our attachments to our partners manifold and results in a much closer relationship. So here we go to learn some of these thoughts and feelings that we can implement, because it's never too late or too early to learn the abilities that make up for relationship competence, especially in times that we are in now. Social isolation, homeschooling, household chores, multitasking, work pressures, and anxiety. And currently even depression is putting additional pressure on especially couples. In fact, that is why learning how to maintain and deepening the bond is extremely crucial to handhold each other. The ability to function adaptively across all areas or all aspects of the relationship process, including figuring out what you need, finding the right person, building a healthy relationship, and getting out of relationships that are unhealthy, all constitute relationship competence, which we're going to be discussing now. In fact, I'd like to begin by telling you there are actually 4 core skills behind relationship competence. And over these last 25 years in my clinical experience, I'm going to share with how these 4 skills can in fact have more and more tie-ups for our life and our relationships to get better and more beneficial. Let's start with the first skill. The first skill is insight. I actually want all of you to note these down either in your minds, or I'm okay with you even keeping some notebooks with you, because note down these 4 skills, and in these 4 skills, the sub-skills that you actually have or you would like to inculcate. So let's get going with the first skill being insight. Insight is about awareness. Insight is about understanding and learning. With insight, you'll have a better idea of who you are, what you need, what you want, and why you do the things you do. For example, if you're in an irritable mood, but you possess insight, you might notice or realize that it's not that your partner is doing anything. It's actually that you are stressed about something, maybe about your work, and what you really need is to relax a little bit so that it doesn't bleed into your relationship. With insight, you'll be able to anticipate the positive and the negative consequences of neither but your behavior. What is very important again is realizing when and how to say sorry, very tough, and also to say thank you after your partner does something kind for you, how you like it, is all about insight. It makes both of you feel appreciated. Insight will also let you know your partner better and allow you to be more forgiving of their follies. Let's come to some ways we can be mindful and bring insight into our relationships. Number 1, accept your partner's uniqueness. Everybody is special and have things which are their strengths, which are unique for them. Appreciate that. Appreciate especially your partner for their strengths and the things that make them special. We've all had moments when we wished our partner was thinner, wealthier, more romantic, and so on and so forth. But take a look at your expectations and ask yourself how realistic they are. In my counseling practice, I've observed that unrealistic expectations, mark me, unrealistic expectations lead way to maximum frustration, which is one of the few main reasons why relationships fail. Coming to the second point of insight, Devote a few minutes a day connecting. Most couples think they talk to each other all the time. But how often do you talk about the things that deepen your understanding of each other? Happy couples talk to each other frequently. That's the mantra. And they know a lot about their spouse in many key areas, their friends, their stressors, their life dreams, and whatever else you feel is important. In fact, set aside about 10 minutes a day to talk to your partner about anything other than work, family, household, who's going to pay the insurance, who's going to pay the electricity bill, what are we going to cook, and focus on that. This is simple, and it infuses relationships with new spirits and life. Third, get to know each other's friends and family. People tend to be happier when their spouse has a good relationship with their families. Also, research states that couples who accept, not necessarily love, each other's friends and make an effort to knowing them report being happier than couples who have separate friends and separate family lives. So integrate the social circle into one another. So the second skill that I want you to focus on goes on to mutuality. The first one was insight. Now we come to the second one, which is mutuality, which is about knowing that in a relationship, both people have needs and that both sets of needs matter. Both have needs and both sets of needs matter. With mutuality, you will be able to recognize your partner's needs and convey your own needs in a clear, transparent manner and a direct fashion. Let's say you have to go for a really stressful work event and you'd like your partner to be there with you. You might say, this is going to be stressful for me. So you're already communicating. I'd love for you to be there. You're setting your expectations for them. You will be a really good support for me. You're appreciating the value that they have in your life. And importantly, is there any way you can find time from your schedule to come with me? Because that's what I really want. Even recognizing that your partner's schedule, even if it's at work or as a homemaker, is just as important, and we should not negate it. Keep aside this type of mutuality in your relationship and make it more likely, and that is going to make it more likely that your needs are going to be met. In fact, mutuality lets you factor both people's needs into decisions that you make about your relationship. Hence, it's also about ensuring your partner's needs are addressed additionally to yours. How can we include mutuality in the culture of our relationships? Here are a few tips. So the second point we're at is mutuality. Number one sub-tip is become a caregiver. One of the three things couples need for a happy relationship is, one, very importantly, support. Can you guess what are the other two? Think. The other two are something called reassurance and intimacy. So talking about support, men often like to give instrumental support. It is the kind of support that fixes or solves a problem. Women often like to give emotional support, which is empathetic listening and constructive feedback. In fact, find out what type of help your partner really wants first and then give it to him or her often and do it consistently. Because remember, when your partner wants Greek and you're providing them with Latin, it may not work. So be the caregiver after understanding what is that support that is warranted. In fact, this reminds me of an old story of O. Henry called The Gift of Maggie. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this. It's about a couple called Jim and Della. In this story, they're quite poor. And they also observed that Jim had his salary cut. After rent and groceries, the couple had very little finances. And they didn't have much to be proud of. But Jim was very proud of his gold watch, and Della most proud of her beautiful long hair. and they both wanted to buy gifts for each other for Christmas, but couldn't afford them. Della wants to buy a strap for Jim's watch, so she decides to sell off her hair to a woman who makes wigs. And when Jim comes home, he looks shocked when he sees Della with very short hair. He had also wanted to give her a nice present, and he had bought her a set of beautiful combs for her long hair. When Della gives him the gold strap for his watch, Jim tells her the story that he sold the watch to buy her those nice combs. They had each sacrificed their most valuable possessions for the person they loved. What I wish to illustrate with this example is that we need to be sensitive to each other's needs, and we need to love and care for them unconditionally without having to be asked. What I have experienced as a psychologist is that neglect, and mark me, the word neglect can put a damper on any relationship, which is why it is so important to ask your partner what they want. Do not assume. So when any different partner's behavior, ask them, how are you doing emotionally and physically? Sometimes we don't. It is so important to express. Please ask, what are your wants? What are your needs? What are your expectations? It may not be only from you. Just share and let them express. Do you feel happy? Do you feel tired, etc.? And can I help in any way? Which brings us to the second important factor, which is support and rely on each other. Have you ever thought, how much of this are we giving to each other? A great way of giving support is by taking the time to understand your partner's plans, ambitions, and goals, and finding ways to encourage them. This ties in with the point in the previous section where we spoke about talking to each other for a few minutes a day to develop insight into their lives. Supporting your partner in their plans and goals will help you understand them better as a person and will bolster their emotions. Your partner is the first person you should also look for guidance, help, or to listen to make sure you understand and are able to support them when they do. Let your partner rely on you to encourage them and look to them for support as well. Third thing is ask your partner questions rather than making assumptions. We spoke about this a little earlier. If your partner is behaving or speaking in a way that bothers or confuses you, do not leap to a conclusion about what their actions mean. Mark my words, do not. Most psychologists say assumptions is the worst thing you can do to your relationship. So do not work on assumptions. A mistake we identify in marriage counseling very often. Instead, ask them directly and politely about whatever is concerning you. And that is fair. Little misunderstandings like, I thought you had left from work, to major misunderstandings like, were you flirting with her? Are you having an extramarital affair? Can cause stress, frustration, turmoil, and worst of all, not feeling heard or understood. Over time, if a person continues to not feel listened to by their partner, distance takes over. You may be physically living together, but mentally and emotionally, you get further and further and further. Misunderstandings, simply defined, are those when these two people's perceptions collide. Your partner thinks of the situation in one way and you see it in another. So again, don't assume. Don't assume they can read your mind, and don't assume you know what they meant or they felt. Ask them instead. This over time will help you better understand how your partner works emotionally and increase empathy and trust in relationships. Fourth, maintain mutual respect and have beliefs in their abilities. This mutual respect is extremely important. Couples who have mutual respect believe in each other's strengths and have enough faith in each other to know when to step back and let them handle something on their own. This is the much talked about subject called giving space with trust and respect. Respect also means that while we may not always agree with our partners or what they say, we choose to trust them. Still, we choose to trust them and put faith in their judgment. This trust can be built over time as your relationship progresses and you learn much more about each other. Respect in a relationship is reflected in how you treat each other on a daily basis and on special basis. Even if you disagree or have an argument, you're able to respect and value each other's opinions and feelings by fighting fair. So a lot of times you can end by saying that we agree to disagree, but do not end the discord. Also, there is nothing right or wrong sometimes. It's only differences of perspectives. So believe in that and move on to our next skill, which is emotional regulation. The goal of emotional regulation is to manage yourself so that your thought process and your thinkings are in balance. And that actually keeps your relationship in perspective. We need to develop the ability to manage those moments when you might worry or snap. It is an important skill to have in all your relationships, whether they are romantic or they are platonic, because it enables you to tolerate uncomfortable feelings while also maintaining self-respect and a commitment to your own needs. So let's come on to how we can do this in our relationship. Again, subtopics or subthoughts for you. 1, find a healthy way to communicate with each other. Share the positives and negatives of your life, of your day with each other. In fact, you can, whenever there are concerns, keep a concern time or a worry time and call it a solution time. But remember, this worry time or this solution time cannot be all the time. In fact, you should delegate some hours where you say that once in a week, we are going to get into a solution time. And this is when we're going to bring up all of the concerns that are disturbing us, because otherwise all time becomes worry time, problem time. In fact, good communication means checking in regularly about what stressors are rearing in your and your partner's life in a way that is agreed upon by both of you. And it means, again, how to resolve conflicts without name calling, without shaming, or without bringing up everything from the past that bothered you in a single argument. Important to let go. And even sometimes to go on and forgive your partner when they upset you. Treat your partner with the same patience and respect that you would like to be treated with. And this really works. The moment you put yourself in their shoes and treat them the way you would want them to treat you, then you will be able to let go without offending yourself or holding on to grudges and records. Because that is only going to bring more and more mistrust in your relationship. Look into these, talk openly, and sometimes even be vulnerable with your partner, which is absolutely fine. And especially in these times, openness is crucial to a relationship. Building emotional walls will actually weaken relationship and shut you up to the importance of your life. Important to be emotionally vulnerable with your partner. Be honest and share your feelings of hopes and concerns. In fact, you can talk, you can say, I want to talk about it. I'm worried about the direction that our relationship is taking. Can I talk to you about us? And that is what is very important. Which brings us to the 4th point, which is having patience with each other. In any relationship, people will make mistakes and annoy one another. Maybe even occasionally. But when these situations arise, again, recommended, give space and let people learn from the mistakes. Rather than jumping with angry responses by saying, what you said yesterday hurt me. So what you can actually say is that, yes, what you said yesterday disturbed me, And I'd like to hear your side before I reach to a conclusion. And that is going to work. Which brings us to the fourth and final skill, which is intimacy. I think intimacy, psychologists world over have no objective or subjective answer that it does not work, because it always works. And yet, intimacy can mean different things to different people. Some people describe an intimate connection as one in which they feel safe and close and loved. However, it is very important to reach these feelings of security, and they may differ from person to person. Some require physical touch. Others may be more emotional or responsive towards. But in general, intimacy means deeply being understood and deeply understanding another. In fact, I have found as a psychologist few ways that you all can include this intimacy into your own life, even on an everyday basis. One, you can do random acts of kindness. Small gestures to big gestures all strengthen the relationship. Any random acts that you would like, smaller or bigger, but frequent, helps. Secondly, grow together. Your love relationship is a living thing. It needs nourishment to grow and develop. The best way to nurture it is to actually stay bonded. Grow with each other. Very important. And fall in love all over again. Fall in love with the strengths that you were attracted to initially. Fall in love for the strengths that have evolved over the time. Fall in love for all the support and everything that you have evolved with. Very important. Keep your relationship with nurturance and with humor. And on a light side, keep sharing. Share with your partner most of the things that you have. And even if you want to express certain things like dragging your partner to watch a silly movie or dragging him or her onto a dance floor and so on, please go ahead and do it. The ways of being intimate, physical, verbal, emotional, are all yours, and they will help you. The point is, encourage yourself and indulge. Indulge in a way that is going to be fun for both of you. It's going to be exciting for both of you. It could be as simple from holding a hand, resting your head on the and watching a movie, or making a simple thing like direct eye contact when you are talking to your partner. Everything be a mode of intimacy. So look into yourselves and see what works. All these 4 skills are needed for a good relationship, and it's never too late to learn the skills that make up romantic competence or even relationship competence. And like earlier, we can start learning these 4 skills: insight, emotional regulation, mutuality, and intimacy, to have healthier and happier relationships. Now, let me take you through a very beautiful part of our interaction today, which is the next few minutes of a compassionate, guided method of meditation or mindfulness for couples. Let's experience it now. So I want you to kind of move around a bit and then sit in front of each other and be comfortable. I want you to be comfortable if your spouses are there with you. The first romantic couple I know and I can see on my screen is our dear Saurabh and Radhika. So let's go. If both of you and all the other couples can actually sit together. And I know Saurabh and Radhika can't at this point of time, but I see a lot of people not having their couples with them. But whenever you do, whenever you get a chance, all that you need to do is you need to just come together, even if it's for 5 minutes every day, and just sit in front of each other and inhale and exhale. Just sit in front of each other, eye contact to be maintained, and inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And gently Put your hands together at the place of the heart or near the heart on your spouse. Put your hands together at the place of their heart and look into each other's eyes. The hand is there, the eye contact is made, and take a long, deep, relaxing breath. Your partner has his hand or her hand on your heart, you have it on their heart. So there is physical proximity. And as you exhale, just look into your partner's eyes. And merely, trust me, merely doing just 3 cycles of that, inhaling and exhaling with your hands on each other's hearts and your eyes maintaining the glance. Suddenly, you will feel an immense difference. You will feel yourself beginning to settle as your mind begins to connect. Your heart begins to connect. Try this out. 3 inhalations and exhalations can change the connectivity of your life. As you inhale, put in your heart an idea of gratitude. In fact, this all of you can do right now for the next 2 minutes. Gently close your eyes. Put your hands on your heart. Just gently put your eyes at rest. Gently close them and put your hand on your heart. As you inhale, put in your heart an idea of gratitude. Continue your deep breathing. Gratitude first for yourself. And then gratitude for your beloved, for your partner, the person who has joined you in your life's journey, or the person who will be joining you in your life's journey. 3 deep breaths. Be grateful for the journey that you are on. Maybe it's abundant and maybe it's happy. May it be abundant and may it be happy. Deep breaths in. May it be joyous and may it be harmonious. Inhale gratitude for the life that you share together. Exhale and let go of all the resentments that you're holding on to in the relationship. Keep your eyes gently closed and let go with every exhalation. And every deep breath you take in, inhale in deep gratitude. In these few moments, you have connected with yourself. You've connected with your partner, either in person or on a mental connect. Exactly what we discussed yesterday, the power of manifestations. Gently, you can open your eyes, and if you have other family members in your house, you can now bring them. You can actually bring in your children. And all that you need to do is form a circle and sit and join hands. One hand up and one hand down. So all that you need to do is you need to make a circle in which one hand is up and one hand is down. And the entire family just breathes in and they breathe out. You can try this now. You can try this later when you have your families next to you. Just take a deep breath in, breathe in, and breathe out. Your hands touching all the family members that are around you. In fact, one member of your family can lead every day with a positive manifestation. Sometimes it can be gratitude. Other times it can be bringing in love. Other time it can be whatever you want. Whatever ever you want, you can build in a positive manifestation. Gently count from 1 to 3 and open your eyes. And you can release the hand from your heart or release the hands from other people who have joined you. And gently come to ease. Thank you all for going through this very beautiful meditation, this very beautiful mindfulness where you connect to anybody and everybody that you want to. And it genuinely is possible. Now that we have all enjoyed being a part of this relationship meditation, let me take you into very briefly conscious parenting. Before I tell you what conscious parenting is, I'd like you all to applaud each of the parents attending this webinar. And I would like to tell you, you are doing a wonderful job. And you must give a pat on your back. Don't be hard on yourself, because there is no one single formula for parenting. And it's okay if you're still figuring that out, because that is what it is supposed to be. Well, after such a long time, when my daughter has turned 21 and my son is 17, and I have seen so many parents and their children all around the world, no matter how many sleepless nights you endure, no matter how difficult your child may get, let me ask you here, how many of you would still say your kid is nothing less than a blessing in your life? So I'd like to tell you that no matter what anyone tells you, parenting is a subjective experience, and you should form your own perception on it. In fact, what works out for you may not work out for someone, because your child is special. And in this session, I'm going to take you through very brief ways of conscious parenting that are going to help each one of you. Let's discuss them right away. The first discussion I want to revolve is around acceptance. Accept your child as they are. Your child is holistic. There are a number of strengths that the child would have. Focus on them, hone them. And there could be certain areas of improvement that you as a parent would want to help them with. For that, get into mindful discussions. But before you get into mindful discussions, the number one aspect of parenting is accept your child holistically and focus on the strengths. And for the areas that you want improvement on, get into mindful discussions. The more you talk to your child, the more the relationship is based on love and trust, they will feel safe to express their feelings to you. And that is what you need to develop. Encourage the kids to express themselves. Let your kids express what they want. And you do not hold on. Learn to let go. Learn to let go. And do not keep unrealistic expectations from kids. We often, unknowingly, in fact, impose our own will on our children. We are so blinded with the thought of considering our kids to be our own extension that we want them doing things that we couldn't do in our life. Sorry to break it to you, but that's the most harsh thing that you can do to your child. Let them explore their own capabilities and grow accordingly. Let them make their own mistakes and learn. But of course, guide them of the pros and the cons of every decision they take in their life, whether the child is 5 years old or whether the child is 25 years old. A child, at least in the Indian community, stays a child for life. Let me assure you that this way, your kid will always respect and value your opinions and suggestions in most of his or her life. These are just few thoughts to begin a very, very important relationship in your life, which is called parenting. And like I said, parenting is special. Parenting starts with acceptance. Parenting starts by being conscious of knowing who and what your child is. And the moment you begin with that, you would see that parenting is no longer a challenge for you. Work on this. Work on this. Define clear boundaries for your children. And yet, at the same time, try and make the child independent. It's very, very important, regardless, to say the conscious parenting is one of the best ways of bringing up your children. Researchers have found kids who have conscious parents are most likely to become responsible adults who feel comfortable expressing their opinions. These children tend to be happy and successful. They're also likely to be much better at making decisions and evaluating safety risks on their own. At the end, I'd like to say, sometimes parents can't identify what parenting style they want to use, but don't feel bad if there are times or areas that you need to be permissive, and at other times you need to be authoritative. Your child is special. Conscious parenting is one of the best ways. And over time, your child will reap the benefits of your conscious parenting. Wishing you and your children and your families at home the very best of the bestest bonds, most connected, filled with love, trust, and respect for all family members. We are here with the Pure Jiva Wellness Platform to stay. We're going to take you back to the connect with our beautiful relationship of Radhika. And she's going to take us into another journey, which is going to help us connect even more. And then we're going to open the forum for a lot of thoughts and feelings that may have got triggered, because today we're talking about one of the most special things in your life, which is your relationships.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhavna, for giving us valuable tips to handle ourselves, our partner, and kids, leading to beautiful relationships and happiness. Now, let's dive deeper to understand how we can make healthy eating our first nature for ourselves and our kids with Sahiba.
Thank you, Radhika. Thank you, Dr. Bhavna. Very, very insightful session. Especially during this pandemic, I think we've seen a lot of emotional turmoil between people, and I often refer to it as, lockdown mein self-isolation and spouse distancing. So, if there is a conflict, you just go to your own separate places and, deal with it. But very true that I think you need to, in fact, come and communicate and solve it together. Moving further, yesterday I spoke about the three stages of intuitive eating. First is to identify what kind of an eater you are. Second is to honor your hunger. Third is to eat with awareness, without distractions, to bless your food. I hope you guys could, get a little taste of it in the last 24 hours. But if you didn't, we have ample time. You can do it. I've posted the whole step-by-step process. Quickly going through the last few stages, which is feeding your emotions. I think we've all realized that we're all emotional eaters or stress eaters. At some point or the other, we have, indulged in food and try to feed our loneliness or grief or lack of love. But it is important to become aware of those feelings and to understand that you are, eating or using food to feed something which is a short-term solution. So if you reach out to that piece of cake or a donut, just, because you're feeling sad, or if you maybe lost somebody, you're grieving someone, or you're lonely, and you're, especially during this time when people are in isolation all by themselves, without family, without loved ones, you are feeding an emotion, you're not addressing the root cause. And yes, even though a donut will make you feel good, it releases or triggers the good hormones in your body. But once the effect subsides, you're going to find yourself again in that emotional pool. So it's important to become aware that it's not the it's not the solution to your root cause, and it's better to address that root cause. Women, when they are before their menstrual cycle, they tend to have these pre-menstrual syndromes where you crave carbs. But research has shown that even if you're craving carbs, if you actually consume protein at that point, it has the same effect. Exercise, now moving on, coming to exercise. Exercise releases the same good hormones that food or sugar refined flour seems to release. Now, exercise to feel good, not just to burn calories. That is the whole concept of intuitive eating and intuitive living. So try different exercises, see what works for you. Join a Zumba class, join a dance class. There are so many classes happening online these days. Do a home workout, do yoga, do Pilates, just go for a walk, swim, pick up a sport. See what is it that sparks joy in you. What is it that will make you go and engage in that workout. For me, it's going to the gym. I enjoy working out. I enjoy weight training. But there are people who don't, who have this, they just cannot step into a closed gymnasium. So please find out what works for you. We are born, or we are natural walkers. Walking essentially is something that comes naturally to us. So try and see if just walking helps, jogging. Find out what works for you. And again, it reminds me of that ad which used to come some time ago on television, where people are running in the joggers park, and somebody's saying butter chicken, somebody's talking about samosa, chole bhature. So don't just exercise to burn something that you've eaten, because I eat butter chicken and naan tonight, thinking that, oh, tomorrow I'll go to the gym and work out, but lockdown and the gyms are closed. There is no way to work out. So next day I'm going to sit feeling depressed and guilty that why did I eat the butter chicken, because now I'm not going to be able to burn it off. So use exercise to feel good, to take care of your health. And over time, you will realize that your body will start craving exercise. It will miss your workout. It will miss that evening walk. And you would, want to intrinsically get up and go and walk. So these are the steps of intuitive eating. And the last one, which actually binds the whole concept together, is meditation, because you need to get back in tune with your body and in sync with your body to find that inner balance and to find what works for you, because you are as unique as anybody else. So all of us are different individuals, and what might work for me might not work for you. So find your sweet spot, find your inner balance. With this, we'll move on to raising intuitive eaters. And I want to emphasize once again on the 3 aspects of any relationship. Dr. Bhavna also mentioned these. First is trust, respect, and love. We need to inculcate these feelings in our children. We as parents need to trust them, trust their choices, respect their choices, and accept them, love them for who they are. Like Dr. Bhavna said, holistically accept them. And also teach them and inculcate these things so that they can trust their instincts, they can trust their choices, respect their bodies and their health, and love themselves. And this starts or begins parents. And how do you raise an intuitive eater? Is by healing your relationship with food. If you unconsciously, if you keep talking negatively about your own body, about your food choices, then that is what the children are listening. And kids, when they're growing up, their mind is like a blank slate. And they are constantly observing their parents and families who are staying in the house, because that is their level of exposure. As in when they grow older, they go to school, have friends, teachers, so that then they have peer pressure and peer influence. But in the early stages, they are only watching their parents. If parents are talking negatively about food or about their bodies, we mothers, I am guilty of it too, of asking, wearing a dress and asking your child or your spouse, am I looking fat in this? Am I looking good in this? These are statements which stay with children. They start to think like that. If mothers are on a diet and the child asks them, why are you eating a different kind of food, or why are your meals different than my meals? And the mother says, oh, because I want to look prettier, I want to lose weight, I want to get slimmer. So then the child starts to think and associate these words with her own body and like that, oh, I need to be slim to look pretty or to look attractive. So we need to consciously avoid these statements of body shaming, if I can just put it out there bluntly. And even calling people names, or casually commenting on people, saying mota, moti, or she's so thin and she's so pretty and look at her and look at you, you're putting on weight. These are not the right words or terminologies that we need to use around children. Also, a research study found that mothers who ate more fruits and vegetables were less likely to pressurize the daughters to eat, and the daughters were, as a result of watching their mothers, were eating more fruits and vegetables. So what a parent does behaviorally is more important and powerful than anything they can ever say. So as a parent, you need to heal your relationship with food. You need to stop labeling food as good or bad. You need to stop being rigid and being fussy about your meals and your food choices. And also tell children, don't label food as good or bad, or don't call junk food as like unhealthy food, or Maggie is junk food, burgers nahi khao, it's unhealthy for you. Kids don't understand what is good for my body or healthy for my body or unhealthy. So you need to start respecting their choices, and also try and refer to them as sometime food. Tell them that this is sometime food because we eat it sometimes. And nutritious food, refer to that as growing food. If there was a question yesterday about a 10-year-old girl not eating fruits and vegetables. So 10-year-olds are very conscious of their skin these days and hair, thanks to all the media exposure. So you need to speak to them in the language that they will understand, or address the story that's happening in their mind. So you tell her that for good hair, for good skin, for good nails, you need to eat these things. They will help you. These are foods which will help your skin look brighter, better, and it won't dry much. So if you talk to her like this and in a positive way, our children will listen to us. Another thing is, ask them to maintain a meal diary. You can ask children to maintain a meal diary, and then sit with them and go through it and ask them that, ask them, pose the question to them. What do you think? How much? What have you eaten? Can you tell me what have you eaten for taste? What have you eaten for nourishing yourself? What are the growing foods? What are the sometime food? And they will themselves, because they have noted it down, they will be able to evaluate that in a day, how much of the sometime food are they eating? Is the sometime food becoming more of a regular food than the growing food, which should be higher than the sometime food? And have honest, positive, friendly conversations with kids, and they will understand. Like Dr. Bhavna also said, that you need to encourage them to communicate and express themselves. When toddlers, if we talk about toddlers, really young children, they are only looking at parents. If a 3-year-old, there was a question yesterday that how do I get my 3-year-old to eat fruits and vegetables? Now, toddlers can be a little picky, but just, I would say, keep introducing different foods to them. And if you're giving them raw vegetables as finger food and they're not relishing it, try and make a different preparation. Try different recipes. Maybe do a soup, a thick soup, and encourage the child to eat. Or make a vegetable. Make some rice with some vegetables. Try different combinations. Don't try and force one particular meal preparation to the child. And even though you might feel that I like it, again, your child is a different individual. It's not necessary that if you enjoy a certain food, your child is going to enjoy it too equally. Again, we tend to make food for children, young children, very bland. So I always tell my clients that, and friends also, that would you eat the food that you're giving to your toddler? And if the answer is no, then please change it. Because if you can't eat it, your child won't eat it. And if the answer is yes, I will eat it, please sit with your child. Tell a story. eat with your child so that the child knows that, okay, mama or the father, they're both eating the same food with me. And children are very receptive to these things. Again, when they're growing up, when, meal timings have to be a positive zone, I would say. Please have good conversations, light-hearted conversations around orders. Don't use statements like just one more bite, or you will not leave the table till you finish your veggies, or you cannot waste food. Khana hai to yahi khana hai, nahi to go hungry. These are not statements to be used if you want to raise an intuitive eater, because here you're telling the child that I don't respect or I don't trust your decision of not eating. I don't believe you that you're full. If the child is saying that I cannot eat anymore, please don't force the child to eat. Yes, you don't want the child to waste the food. So try and give the option that, oh, we're not, you've taken more than you can finish. Next time, try and take a smaller portion. For now, let's save this sabji or vegetable in the fridge, and in the evening, let's try and make a wrap out of it or a sandwich out of it, or, mix it with rice or with pasta, a little bit of pasta, something. Try and, get them to eat and finish whatever they've taken in their plate. But if they can't finish it at that time, ask them to eat it as a snack later on. Again, when you are traveling, which will eventually, hopefully, start very soon for all of us, if you're traveling with your children, and if they are young children, you're packing a lot of snacks because you're scared that your child is not going to eat whatever food is available locally there. Take your backup, but encourage your child to experiment, try the foods outside. This will really help the child's personality also to develop, that the child will not become a rigid person, or not, will not be scared of trying and experimenting. So take your child, keep a yogurt or some fruit pulp or something with you always, or a juice. But when you're sitting or eating something, ask the child to try. Now, getting children to eat, that was a question, that how do I get my child to eat and try something new. Ask yourself, are you experimental with food? Do you try something new? If someone were to offer you, say, edamame, you've not heard of it, you've never eaten it, would you be willing to try it at least before saying, no, I can't eat all this, I don't do all this? If you are the kind who is going to reject food without even trying it, your child is watching you and is going to do the same thing. So the best way is to set an example. Say, right, I will try. Why not? We should try new things, and encourage your child to take one bite before the child says that, no, I cannot eat this. Beetroot is one thing, and this is a very personal example. Mostly kids and most adults also don't like beetroot too much. And, as it is normally, my daughter is also not very fond of beetroot. But there's this one time I made beetroot tikkis. Now that is made with potato and beetroot. And she looked at it, it was red in color, and she said, I don't know, I don't think I want to eat it. So I told her, I said, try once, take a bite. If you don't like it, don't eat it. And she ended up eating 5 tikkis. Next week, she asked me, she said, Mama, when are we making beetroot tikkis again? So even the child doesn't know that what preparation might they like. So try and ask them or encourage them to at least take a bite. And if they don't like something, respect that decision also. If they don't like it, don't force it. My daughter does not like mint chutney. I encourage her to try it. She doesn't like it. I don't force her to have it. So these are little things where the child will understand that, yes, I'm not forced to eat whatever my parents want me to eat. They respect my taste and my choices as well. Another one for older kids, if you're going on a road trip, which should also happen soon, hopefully. If you have a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old and you're going on a road trip, so you ask your child to pack his or her snack box. Whatever snacks you want to carry, tell your child to pack their own snack box. You pack your own snack box. Before you leave, check the child's snack box. And if, for instance, if the child has only packed cookies and chips and say water, so don't immediately say that, what have you packed? What is all this unhealthy food that you are taking on the road trip? say, oh wow, chips sounds fun, it'll be a fun food to have, but I'm not sure if it's going to be a filling snack. So carry this. Why don't you also pick up a fruit just in case you're more hungry? So the child will understand that, okay, my, picking up chips and the biscuit is not bad, but yeah, I will pick up a fruit as well. Maybe she's right. There is some merit to what my mom is saying. And don't be a cautious eater. If you're a cautious eater in front of your child who constantly, where you feel, the child feels that, oh, my mother is not even going to take a single chip because it's unhealthy, she's not going to eat this, she's not going to eat that, because she is very particular about what she eats and it has to be healthy, the child is going to negatively think about his or her own choices, that I'm constantly making wrong choices. So let loose, try and teach your children by example how to balance life, how to balance nutrition and taste. So to raise an intuitive eater, become one first and start changing, making these little things and heal your relationship with food. Family and food. So again, with couples, I thought, one thing that Dr. Bhavna mentioned, that couples should spend quality time together. And more often I've seen this with my clients, where the women come and they tell me that I cannot eat after before 9 o'clock in the night. And I'm like, why can't you eat at 7:30? So, they often say that my husband comes back from work and then we have to eat together. So my question is, what time in the evening or at night are you hungry? And if she says 7 o'clock, I said, please eat your meal and sit with your husband. Have a fruit when your husband is eating your meal. The idea of eating together came from the concept of spending quality time together. The idea is to spend quality time together, not to force each other to starve or stay famished till a certain point so that you can eat together. If one spouse wants to eat at 7 o'clock and is hungry at 7 o'clock, please let him or her listen to their body, eat at that time. Sit together, have a good conversation. If the husband is eating late, the wife can always sit with a cup of herbal tea or glass of milk or some fruit and sit with the husband and serve dinner. But you don't have to wait till that point. Please start respecting each other's bodies and each other's independent hunger and satiety cues. Also, during this time, I think everybody should pitch in, try and cook together, cook for each other. Maybe, do a snack. Husband can do a snack, wife can make some dinner or do a dessert. Try and find one day in a week where you either cook for each other or you cook together. Involve the child. That is one, again, very good thing, good way of getting older children to try new foods. Ask them to help you. They don't have to do any flame cooking, but they can always help you with, mashing potatoes or just washing vegetables, or, just adding spices, laying the table. So these are little ways. If you involve the child, if the child knows that he or she has participated in the whole process of cooking or making a dish, they will be more open to trying and experimenting with that food. So try that the next time you're cooking over the weekend or any time during this lockdown. Another good way of encouraging older children to eat healthy is if they want to, say, for instance, eat Maggie. So you give the child an option that, respect it. Yes, okay, you want to eat Maggie. Make a meal diary if they've not eaten it for a long time and you want to, if they want to eat it. Say, have Maggie, but with that, I would really like you to have some growing food. What would you like? Would you like a bowl of salad or would you like a bowl of some cooked vegetable? So again, the options that you give are very similar. So as a parent, you're giving them vegetables in two different forms. And the child knows that, okay, I'm getting Maggie, but she's right by saying that I should eat some growing food too. So the child will either opt for a salad or the vegetable. So respect that and trust their choices, and they will trust your choices, and they will know that, okay, nothing is off the table. Because the minute you take something off the table, that, okay, this you cannot have, we are designed that in a way that our mind is going to constantly just think about that. That's what happens in restrictive dieting as well. We tell, if as a dietitian, if I tell you that you cannot touch pizzas, your mind is only going to think about pizzas. And the time, or the minute you stop being on a diet, you're going to go binge eat a pizza. So the minute something is off the table, you are going to crave it. So with children, don't take anything off the table, but try and show them through by setting an example of how to reach a balance. I think now we can open the forum for questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. I'm going to share one gluten-free recipe here on the chat, which you can try together. Involve your children. It's a healthy, yummy recipe of a cake, and my daughter loves it. So yeah, over to Radhika. Radhika, you can now open it for questions, for Q&A.
Yeah. So there are a few questions that we have received yesterday and today as well. So the first question is for Saiba. How to make our kids as they don't want to try any new food or vegetables, etc. So, but I think you have already addressed this question. Yeah, if in case you want to add anything, you can.
That's it actually. Try different preparations. And secondly, see if you are a picky eater in front of them. If you're not, try and tell them that, see, I'm going to try it with you. Children always learn by whatever they see, they're going to learn, and parents are their role models, at least till the time that they turn teenagers. But till that time, parents are their role models. They are going to see their parents.
Yeah, okay. So next question is for Dr. Bhavna. How to control our anger and frustration in these trying times, as they are worsening our relationships big time. So Dr. Bhavna.
Sorry, Radhika.
No issues. So you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, Radhika, I missed that question.
So how to control our anger and frustration in these trying times, as they are worsening our relationships big time. So how to control our anger? That's the question.
One of the things that we really need to do is we need to start by acknowledging to our own self that yes, there is a difference in my emotional stance. So 50% of our concern is going to get over by us just addressing this and understanding that I am moving to a stance where I don't need to be. That stance can be anger, that can be anxiety, that can be depression. Now, for instance, if it is anger or any emotion, what we need to do is first we need to look after ourselves. Looking after ourselves means making that pleasurable routine or a constructive routine that is going to strengthen myself. Second thing could be addressing what is actually bringing about the anger in me and thereby making a difference to the trigger that is taking me towards anger. And the third is using a solution-focused approach where we don't rotate around the problem, but we come onto the solution as to what can we do to be able to build up reservoirs, resources, or seek support and help to deal with that trigger to anger. And in our constructive schedule, I would also like to add, there are few beautiful meditations and mindfulness that we've done through the day. So starting with our own guided meditations to extending it to the family by first acknowledging, yes, I am going through an emotionally unstable state. 2, I don't want to be in that state. 3, I seek support from you all to eliminate the triggers that I have. And 4, let us all do something together, which is going to help me connect with you. So that could be even the kind of family meditation that we all did.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bhavna. And the next question is for you again. So please give us some insight on how to deal with depression. Like today only we heard a very sad news of Sushant Singh Rajput, which really proved that your status, money and materialistic things doesn't guarantee your well-being. So a little insight on how to deal with depression in these trying times. I think there is some network problem with Dr. Bhavna. So I will address the next question for Saiba till the time she is there online. So Saiba, again a question for you. So this I also experience in my life, that whenever we are super hungry, we crave for desserts, and that happens with my daughter as well. So whenever she's super hungry, she asks for chocolate or a Nutella or something sweet. So is it okay to give it given at that time to a dessert when it's a meal time?
Muted, yeah. Yeah. I would say that yesterday when we started talking about, the hunger scale, that you don't want to reach the point where you're famished because you can't make conscious decisions at that time. When you are famished and super hungry, like you said, it's basically our blood insulin falls, and so you need some sugar, and that gives you glucose, will give you an instant energy boost, which is why we usually, that's the body's way of asking for glucose. So you try and never reach that point where you are famished and you can't make a conscious choice. But again, if it's a child and you can't, and if you're traveling, or there's been a certain day when the child has gone without food for a very long time and is asking for dessert, yes, please give, but give a small portion at that time, and tell, so that the child knows that if I'm asking for it, I'm receiving it, and that trust between the parent and the child will form. And then tell the child that, okay, now that you've eaten your dessert, let's eat some growing food with it, so that it can nourish your body, because this is, the chocolate or Nutella is not going to last you long. It's not very filling. So let's eat something which is filling, because actually you are hungry. So this is, if you positively ask the child and have an honest conversation, the children usually listen.
Okay, thank you. I'll implement that.
And also, we usually do this. I don't know, this is a conditioning that we have of eating desserts and fruits after eating a meal, which should be avoided. And try and eat a fruit on an empty stomach as a mid-morning snack. Even teach this to your children. Don't ask them to eat mangoes and kharbuja after eating lunch, please.
Okay. Very
Right,
hard
I'm
to.
back, and I actually heard that question, and I'm sorry that there was a little bit of a signal problem that I was going through, but I've kind of sorted that out, so I'll be completely connected now.
Yes.
And I heard that question, and I not only hear that question, I actually feel that question, because there are many Sushant Singhs that are going through a mental health pandemic. I would say that COVID has brought about a lot of surfacing of a lot of predispositions that we all had in our life. And depression is one of the things that we are seeing sky high. What I would recommend is that depression is something that we need to spot in ourselves. We need to understand that whether we are on these lines of boundary which are keeping us safe, or whether it is leading us towards mental health concerns. And two of the mental health concerns of anxiety and depression are sky high in times of today. When we look at identifying some of the clinical features, one of them actually is a sudden change that we see in our eating habits. Like what Sahiba was also talking about, an increase or a decrease or emotional eating or giving up on food gives us a signal that are we moving towards lines of imbalance. Second is a disturbed sleep pattern. Third is self-neglect or a change in hygiene pattern. Fourth is some kind of a loss of interest in family or friends, leading us to social isolation. Another could be not being interested in pleasurable activities and developing a pessimistic approach where we also see frequent crying spells. So what we need to do is, if we are identifying any three of these becoming a part of life, then we need to start building up more resources than we originally were having as a part of my life. So for example, the first thing that we need to do is we need to get back into a good quality of sleep. We need to get back into a good quality of mealtime. We need to get back into socially connecting with our family, our friends, and our social network, especially the people who we are very fond of. And I think we already discussed this in the webinar, how important and communication is. And along with that, listening. So whenever there is somebody who's towards, or you're identifying that they are going towards any of these 7 spot on, what you should do is you should provide that extra support even if that person is not asking you for it, because it is visible, because it is right there. So be that listening ear and be that responsible shoulder where the person can come and can share and can express. Encourage the person to have a constructive schedule where 2 or 3 things really work. One is exercise. Exercise has antidepressants in the form of endorphins. Any form of exercise the person likes, please encourage them to do it. Second is what we've been talking about since yesterday, positive manifestations, self-affirmations. And third is any kind of guided meditation or mindfulness exercise. Immediately, it is going to take us into a different level of connect. So treat it with the care and with the sensitivity that depression needs. And let us all prevent ourselves from getting into that stage.
Thank you so much. I think this was really needed at this hour. Again, one more question for you, Dr. Bhavna. As per your one of the point insisted of assumptions for in today's session, we should ask questions to spouse. But in case he revert in a very rude and angry manner, then what should be our behavior?
See, this question is something that you need to ask your own self. That is anger going to get a better answer, or is anger going to take me away from what I'm expecting? Usually what happens is that if these are our emotions, and these are our thought processes, the moment our emotions go up, our thinking automatically goes down. One thing, please remember that whenever you want to discuss something important in your life, especially with somebody who's as special as a partner to you, at that point of time, do it in a state of neutrality, do it in a state of cordiality. Do not do it when the emotions, even if it is of anger, frustration, are sky high. Your partner will not be receptive to responding back to you, and he or she will only react. So one very important thing of clarifying, I'm saying assumptions need to be clarified, but what needs to be done and when it needs to be done is what you need to take care of. Do not do it in an emotional state. Do it when the emotions have balanced out their thinking and their feeling, and we are in a state of cordiality. If the other person is getting upset, give space, give time, and say, I understand that what I have said is disturbing you. However, I do not want to assume, but I would like to discuss this yet at a time when it is better for you and me to respond back to each other and reactive. And usually therapeutically, this will work much better for each one of us.
Thank you. Very well answered. So one more question for Saiba. Saiba, yeah, my son is 3 years, 7 months old. He usually eats whenever we eat in our meals. Just that he doesn't want spicy food, not even a bit. So I kept his food without spices and chili. Sometimes he wants our food and try it too, but can't bear and not comfortable with a bit of spices. So is that okay to give spice-free food?
Like she said that she's already preparing different food for the child, or I would suggest that make the same food, but before you add a lot of spices to your food, just remove a little for the child. And if the child is willing to try your spicy food, please encourage and don't child. Even if it is one bite, there is something that he's the children usually their palate cannot take very spicy foods. So whatever is normal for us may be very spicy for them. But if he's constantly asking to try, that means there is something that, there is some taste that he's relishing. So don't discourage him, but try and give him, a small quantity of the sabji with like a bigger bite of a roti, or mix it with rice, or give him some curd on the side, and try and, he will get used to as, he grows. But if he's willing to try your food and spicy food and experiment with it, please don't discourage.
Thank you. And one more question for you. Vermicelli is gluten. Is it advisable for
In moderation. So gluten, again, there is wheat also has gluten. So unless your child is showing symptoms of gluten intolerance, then there is no reason to avoid it. But you don't give it in very like large quantities. Try and give in moderation. So if the child is not enjoying it, or if the child doesn't want to eat it, please don't force, because you might not be picking up on it, but the children are very intuitive, and they're completely in sync with their body. So if some food does not agree with them, they will refuse to eat. So please acknowledge and respect that, because you might realize later on in life that the child is gluten intolerant or sensitive to gluten, which is why the child is refusing.
Yeah, thank you. So another question for Dr. Bhavna. What can one do to overcome anxiety?
Yeah, I think what we need to understand is, again, what is the reason for anxiety, and identify how real is it and how unreal is it. So a lot of times anxiety is also based upon apprehensions which need not be true. Second thing that we can do is, if we feel it is real, then what can be the worst? The moment you start identifying what can be the worst in this situation, you realize that it's not as anxiety provoking as it was seeming to us earlier. And the third thing is that whenever anxiety is high, deep breathing really, really, really works. And I'll give you a mantra of deep breathing in which you use a count of your breath. So every time you breathe in at a count of 5, hold that for a count of 10, breathe out for another count of 5, and hold that breath out for another count of 5. Second step, when you breathe in relaxation, breathe in calm, breathe in anything that is opposite to anxiety. So breathe in that relaxation and let it spread in the count of 10 to all different parts of your body. And as you breathe out the anxiety, breathe out the stress. Merely doing this 5 times, if your anxiety level was here, it would automatically come down by 50%. And it's completely time tested and it works. So 3 steps is what you need to follow.
Yeah, thank you so much. Saiba, there is another question. I think parents are too anxious and they just want their kids to eat. So one question is, my daughter...
actually a question to the parents, Radhika.
Yeah.
That what else do they want to do besides their children eating? Have you also thought of that? That what else can parents want from their children beyond? And I think genuinely, Saiba, I'll wait for you to answer this, but psychologically, if we focus on all other areas, somewhere food comes into place.
Right.
But the moment you keep focusing only on food, then food becomes the bigger newall of everything in their life. So I think sometimes it's just very, very important to give space and, of course, give time for Sahiba to answer this question.
So the question is, is 9 years old and she refuses to try anything new, especially vegetables. Should I just leave this for her choice, or should we, make her eat?
So like I said, what is the form that you're giving the vegetables in? If it's raw vegetables, try a variation, try and make a stew, try and blend them, make a thick soup, make a cold soup if the weather is hot wherever you are. Different combinations, make a salad and eat the same thing with the child, with the daughter. And like I said, there's research to show that if the mother is eating more fruits and vegetables, daughters just follow suit. This has been proven scientifically. So are you eating enough fruits and vegetables, or what form are you eating? Try different combinations, involve the child in it. So again, if she wants to only eat, say, a burger, give her this option. Would you like a vegetable soup or a salad with it? If she says salad, say fantastic. Come help me. Let's pick whatever vegetables and fruits you want in your salad. Give the child the authority and the responsibility of making or choosing ingredients for the salad. Again, once she's involved in the process, she'll be more willing to try.
Yeah.
Don't force. If she doesn't like vegetables at all, don't force. Get a multivitamin for the time being.
Yeah, I think two things, Saiba, that you said very beautifully. One is that, involve the child in decision making. That gives them the, that gives them the ability to become a partner to choosing what they would want in their life. And usually that works much better than forcing them. Second thing I'd like to add is provide a value to the choice that you're giving to them. The moment you give them a value along with informed decision making, it comes across as a full circle because they feel they are taking that decision which is adding value to their life.
Yeah. And I think one of my favorite doctor once said, she's also a pediatrician, she also said that we only focus with the child to feed their stomach and we forget to feed their mind. So I think very well said, Dr. Bhavna, that we have to feed their minds also positively and along with the food.
Radhika, that was my closing. Food for stomach goes to food for mind, and very importantly, food for soul.
Yeah.
I think wishing everybody the best of that, especially in this time. I think we need to nurture ourselves from our physical immunity build up to our emotional, to our mental, and to our spiritual. And I think Pure Jiva Wellness has done this very, very beautifully by encapsulating all the moods from where we started yesterday to we started today to build up these security blankets in ourselves. I really congratulate Pure Jiva Wellness for having aided us through this thought process where we can just evolve and nurture ourselves more holistically.
Radhika, I just want to add one more thing where parents can change the way children eat is we have this whole concept of the Sunday brunch being a heavy meal, or you have to, it's almost like a reward meal for whatever you've done. You've had a hectic week, and we tend to have like a Sunday big brunch, chole bhature, aloo puri, something fancy on Sunday. So that becomes a very strong conditioning when you grow up, and it's very difficult to break that. And so I think as parents of this generation, we can do this with our children that don't have this concept of a heavy Sunday brunch. Let children know that on a Sunday, you can eat khichdi and you can eat chole bhature on a Wednesday afternoon also. So it shouldn't be that just because it's the weekend, you have to eat something unhealthy, something heavy. It becomes easier for them when that conditioning is not there.
Yeah. Thank you, Saiba. And thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. And as we all learned from Dr. Bhavna that we should thank our partner very often. So I would like to thank the co-founder and also my husband for working endlessly behind the scenes for this workshop. And I would request him to put himself on spotlight so that we can see. I think it's technically because he's handling the backend. So
Yes, I'm here.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So now, Saurabh, please can you add the link for the feedback also? So
Sure.
you all are requested to fill the feedback form, whose link is available on the chat window, and we will be very grateful to hear any feedback and any improvement areas for our future workshops. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. And I hope we have addressed all the questions today. And in case your question is not addressed, so you can email us at happiness@purejiva.com. The email address is also on the chat. Thank you so much, everyone. And we can just say bye and put our videos and unmute ourselves.
Yeah. In fact, I'd just like to say that maybe we are ending a session,
thank you very much.
but we are beginning a relationship with each one of you. Thank you all for being a part of this webinar, and God bless each one of you with holistic health.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Purjiva.
Thank you so much.
you.
Informative.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Stay safe, stay home. Stay
Yes.
healthy.
Yes. Thank you.